Okay guys, so welcome back. I know it's been a long time since I posted anything. I'm going to show you how I've been making these badge faces for your badge reels for your work. Um, I've made some Thanksgiving ones, some ones with just your name on them. This one was made with a pin that I broke off the pin back and then put it in the resin. I've also made some Zero ones, some Nightmare Before Christmas. Here's a Jason one. This one is very popular. This is just a small collection of what I've made throughout the year. I've been really working on these for about 5 months. I also made this little board thing here to hold any of the extra ones I make, just for myself personally, but I also sell them at my work. But I'm going to show you how I do this. This is a little different than the ones, there's other people that make them like this kind of, with the vinyl. I don't really like this because then you got to buy all the molds and then put the vinyl in there and all that. This, I just buy one standard mold, which is the rounds. And I then just put resin in them, and then I'll show you how I do everything. I also use gibbets for my faces. So I'll show you how to do that. Just stay tuned. Alright guys, so first I want to apologize if my camera keeps autofocusing. It's been really weird with the software lately, so I do apologize. Some of the things you're going to need is, of course, UV resin. That's one of my favorites to use because it sets up so quickly. All this stuff I've gotten on Amazon, and I'll put links in my description area for them if I can find them still on Amazon. I've tried many different resins, and these two are my favorites. This one's really good. This one, in my opinion, is the best, but it does give off when it's curing underneath the light, it does give off a vapor smoke, and it smells like pine saw. So if strong smells bug you, I wouldn't recommend this one. But this one seems to be a little clearer and a little harder, like more rapid at setting up than this one does. But this one also does a really good job too. So I use both. I probably tried like 8 different ones, and these two are my top 2 that I really enjoyed and seem to be the best for me. You're also going to need a silicone mat. This is just a pot holder mat I got on Amazon as well. The reason why is when this is curing underneath the UV light, it gets very, very hot, and just to help protect your surface. It's just nice to have this. And if it spills over, this is also silicone. You can peel off the UV resin. You'll need silicone, sorry about that, the clock. You'll need some silicone molds. I got this as well on Amazon. There's a couple other basic shapes, but I just like using basic shapes like hearts or the rounds or the diamond shaped ones. I think the 3 that I have. But the round ones are usually the 90% of the time what I use to make. Then you're going to need a UV light. And some of these, I think it was this brand, you can buy it in a kit that will come with the light, a bottle of this. And you're also going to need some silicone mixing bowls. You can also use like medication cups, you get at Walmart. You can use those as well, but it's just nice to have something you can use over and over. And then you'll need some stirring sticks. Really anything your preference will be fine. This one came with the whole kit. And I kind of like these little spatulas. Another thing I recommend is to have if I can find it here, blade. But I need to put a new blade on there, but like your Cricut blade knife here. That's nice to get some of your things you're going to need too. Another thing I would recommend is getting one of these. This is a blowtorch. I got this at my local Walmart for like 18 bucks. This will help remove any of the air bubbles in the UV resin before you set it up or set the resin. So what I like to do to start out is I will just make out some blanks for my bases. Oh, also I almost forgot to mention, these are they're called gibbets. They're actually the croc charms. And I use these as for my faces. I just found this much easier and actually a little cheaper in the cost of making everything. So what you do, you put a new blade on my Cricut knife. You unlock it, push down, load it in. Is I take this and you'll just cut off the backs of the gibbet. Now you be very careful though, obviously you don't want to cut yourself because this is very sharp. But you just get behind there and cut this button part off. It's not that hard once you get used to doing it. Like I said, just please be very, very careful because this is a sharp blade. And there you go. It's quite easy to get off there. And just throw this away, and this is your backing now. Another thing you can use is, I don't know if anybody here that's watching this is used to buying buttons. They're called dress it up buttons. I think you can get them at your Walmart or Joann's. They're like a vinyl or plastic button that have cute little, animals or characters and stuff. As long as they're plastic, I just cut off that button loophole in the back. It's kind of the same principle as these, and then just use that as your front. I just find it much easier to use stuff like this than doing it the other way with the vinyl, because this is fun, don't get me wrong, but it's just a lot more work and a lot more money than just doing it this way, in my opinion. Everybody has their difference on it. There's another lady where I work at sells these kind, and I've bought, as you can see here, I've actually gotten several from her. She makes this Happy Fall one. So there's all kinds of things you can do, but you have to buy the molds. And then usually where you buy the molds are from, you can get them on Etsy from people. They'll also give you the SVG file for the cut the vinyl for them. But like I said, in the long run, it's more money to buy all these different molds than just having a standard mold and then making yours with just these little things. So, all right. So once I showed all that, now let's make some blanks. The UV resin, I just like it the best because it's just so easy to use. Let me see if this one's opened. No. I got another one that's opened down here. These last a long time. I think I can probably make 50 to 75 with this one bottle. You want to just fill the bottom part. Don't want to, fill it to the brim. At least what I do. As you can see here, it's not all the way around the edges. You have to make sure you do that. So I just pick up the mold and, be careful. Don't let it spill out over the sides. Sometimes you got to do this a couple rotations. Don't worry about the bubbles because, like I said, we got that torch. I'll show you how that works. But first, you want to make sure it gets all around the edge. And there's no dry spots on the bottom. Oops, see, I almost spilt it. You just got to use your finger to get it back in the mold. Wipe it off the top. You always want to keep paper towel handy. It's got a consistency of honey, is what it kind of feels like to me. All right, so it's all around the edges. And I've got one more little spot. There we go. And all these bubbles, you want to get these out before you set your resin because those bubbles will create holes in the resin. So we'll turn the torch on. You just go quickly over it. As you saw, they just disappeared. Do not hold it in one spot too long because then you'll burn your UV resin. And don't do it too much or too long. It's just till the bubbles disappear. And then you'll set your light on top. And 60 seconds. All right, so 60 seconds. And this really recommends 1 to 2 minutes. So it says 46 seconds on each side, but I like to do another round. All right, so we've done 2 rounds of 60 seconds on here. And they're not hard, and it's still a little warm. That's normal because of the chemical reaction. Now let's just pop them out of the molds. And I like to do another 60 seconds on the back sides of them. All right, so now this is done. Now I'm going to show you though why it's important to make sure that I got all the way around the edges. So you see here, this one did not. But we can still salvage this though by taking your mold again. And you see here they're hard. They're like chips. So these are ready to go, but we'll fix this one by just adding a little bit more to that one side. That's what I love about UV resin. It's just easy to fix a lot of the things. So a lot of times it's not ruined. Just use this to kind of flatten it out. Okay. Then we've got one little bubble in there. Got that out. Now we'll turn our light on real quick. All right, now we'll show you how I got that fixed. You see there? Now it's all, and you still see a little bit, that will be covered up once we do the front, as you'll see. And I'll actually end up using this one just to show you guys that it's okay. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how we put the little guy on there. So we'll use this one, the one we just cut off for you. So you'll fill, and on the front face, you'll have a little bit of a lip here, which is what you want for the front. So we'll take our UV resin. We'll use this other one now, just to show you there's really no difference, and you can mix them too. Don't mix them in the bottles, but you can mix them when you're curing them. Put a little bit there on the back. And then you just want to fill up the edge. Don't let it run over. Alright, so now that it's filled up, and it's kind of like bowed over, I don't know if you guys can really tell, but you can see that it's full. You can see the glare from the light, hopefully. It's full. Then I like to still take my torch here a little bit and get any of the little bubbles out. You also want to make sure he's good and centered where you want him to be at. Sometimes you can push down too, some bubbles will come out, which is fine. Okay, so now he's ready to be cured. So again, you just put your light over it for another 60 seconds. And again, I could do 2 rounds on each side just to make sure it sets really well. All right. So now he is set, but sometimes it will not set underneath here because the light can't get behind him. So here's the most important part, is flipping them over. And now do 2 sets of 60 on the back side. Okay, so after the 2 sets of 60 on the back, you can always test. More than likely you're going to need more. This is where it can be a little painstakingly. Make sure it sets up, look for any movements. Another thing I have found in doing this now for the last several months is buy a good quality UV flashlight. UV Beast is the best one I've found for the price. They're about $40. I know it's kind of hefty. You do not have to have this. It's just, I have found out this helps to facilitate this a lot better. So on the back side, it was so hard for this to penetrate this rubber gibbet. So, and you want to make sure it sets up, because if you don't, in a few days after it sets, you'll have leakage of the uncured resin leak out around the edges. I have had that happen. And that's why it's good to have a handheld light. And you can just stay here and focus it on the whole back for about 1 to 2 minutes. Okay. Another thing to remember with the UV resin, it's still quite warm and malleable. Don't want to touch too much on the front, because you'll actually leave your fingerprint into the resin, and it'll kind of dull it down instead of being shiny. So I try to handle them on the back. You don't care so much because we're about to put something else on the back, but it's the front. So if you've got to grab, I grab by the gibbet itself, the front. He is now pretty good set up. I'm pushing on the back here. I don't see no movement of the resin, and it feels pretty solid, but he's still quite warm. So you want to wait for it to cool down before you ever touch the front part with your fingers, unless you grab it by the gibbet, because you don't want to, dull down this. Now, some edges can be a little, you can have some edges that looks a little rough around the edge. That's fine. I don't mind that because it makes it look homemade, because that's what it is. If you don't like that, you can always take a file after it's cooled down and file it down, and then just put a thin layer of resin on the file area, and then reset it, and it'll go away. But I don't mind the roughness. But I'll show you guys how to do that here in a minute, though, just for the sake of the video. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I meant about, I don't have a file with me right now, which I recommend you use a file, not really do this method, because I don't want you to cut yourself. But if you feel real confident with a knife, see the edge here where it's kind of, you can see that it's popped up a little bit. Trying to see if I can show it in the video. Just take your file, where I'm here, the knife, and just shave it down a little bit. All right, so now that I make it re-uniformed again, we can go back to our mold. Just trying to show you guys all the little tips and tricks that I've learned over doing this, and how to make things just look better. Because you're gonna, gotta play around with it. Like I said, I've been doing this about 4 or 5 months. I've tried many different techniques, and this seems to be the best so far. Now you're just gonna fill back in on the edge. All right, so now we're going to recure it. All right, so now let's see what he looks like. Now, if there's any overgrowth here, which happens sometimes, I'll show you how to fix that. But let's do one on the back. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to shave off this overgrowth that happens sometimes. You can see there. Okay guys, so now it's all nice and smooth and around the edges. Now I'm going to show you how we add our glitter to the back. Okay guys, so my camera was not recording when I did my other resin back for the glitter back. So I had to redo a new one real quick for you guys. So it's not the same Mickey Mouse that you'll see in the rest of the video, but I had to just repeat the backing on how we do the glitter. So I like this glitter here. You can, it's personal preference, whatever you like. You just put it out as much as you think you'll need. And then you'll add resin. And then you use the little spatula thing. And you want to make sure you mix it very, very well. Alright, so now that we've got it mixed up well, it's the same principle as anything else when you're doing UV resin. You always got to keep in mind that the light's got to penetrate it to set up the UV resin. So try to go as thin as possible, but make sure you cover the whole back and all the way to the edge. Alright, so now we've got the backing all the way done. As you saw there, I dropped it, but there was no problem. You want to make sure, like I said, you got it all the way to the very edge and no full coverage, no holes of the glitter. But you want to keep it as thin as possible so it won't be so hard to set up. Because this is the most important part, is making sure that you get the resin fully set. Because again, what will happen if you don't make sure it's fully cured, is that you'll have leakage later on down the road, and I have had that happen before. So we're going to do about 2 to 3 sets on the back of 60 seconds, and we'll flip it over and do the same again. So you'll see that in the video. As you can see here, he is not 100% set up. If you squish on him on the back, you can still see movement of the resin, which is normal. This is the part that takes the longest. That's why I recommend having a light, because you can really concentrate the UV light on one area and let it set on there for a minute. This really helps to set up the UV resin in the background of the glitter, because glitter doesn't allow a lot of the light to come through on the back, so that's why you got to kind of alternate back and forth. This part probably takes the longest of anything, because you're constantly having to cure it from the front and then cure it from the back and flipping it back and forth, back and forth. So once I'm done, I'll show you guys the finished product, okay? Okay guys, so he's finally cured. It's fully hard. And he's cooled down, so you can touch him now. You don't have to worry about your fingerprints getting all over it. So the final thing to finishing this is the last thing I recommend you getting if you want to start doing these. You need to get this 3M dual lock. It comes in, I can get this big bulk on Amazon for like 25 bucks, and it lasts a good while. And you'll just cut off 2 nice size squares. You don't want to go too big. Okay. I guess you really don't need 2 squares actually, because this is going to go on the back of the badge reel. So you really only need 1. Peel off the sticker, and this stuff, I mean, holds really good. And then you want to make sure you're getting the right side up. So look at him, and then twist it over. All I like to do sometimes too is put up in the light. You can then kind of see the outline of, make sure you're getting it right. And you just stick it on the back here. And now you've just finished your badge reel face. And look for my other video, how to make a badge reel will be the other video you'll look to see how I make the badge reels. So thank you guys for being here once again and watching this video. Don't forget to like or subscribe and share my video with other friends and family or on your social media. It helps to grow my channel and I really appreciate that. Have a great day, guys. Bye.